Hello, hello, hello. Now, the other video I told you about Prince's son, the one they called J-Ro. Yeah, that little boy kept up so many problems, and him and Lil Durl, Suge Knight's son, Lil Durl. Yeah, Lil Durl just sold a thief and all that, but he's just a thief. And J-Ro was doing more, trying to be tough on other stuff, involving stuff that had to do with him, stuff that his brothers and them was doing. Okay, and making himself hate me when he, every time he complained about in-child Harold or what was going on, he get mad at me. He get mad at Veronica Sherrod, Peaches, his sister now. And Peaches and her man Scott told me he can come live with them, He get there with them. He got an attitude again. Ain't nobody bothering him. What's all that for? And then they told him, go live with your daddy Prince and your mama Apollonia, because something wrong with you. That's who your problem with. His excuse was talking about his daddy wanted me to keep him and all that. No. You do not put your parenting responsibilities on me. And I say your granddaddy and the rest of them live right in the Orwell's housing projects by Phyllis now. That's how Phyllis and Harold, everybody knew you. Because Harold was dating Phyllis. You see where it's going? Because Prince was again, but he kept trying to play that role. I told you, when we had that fake wedding in St. Louis, Missouri, it was all on the news. Queen Shonda and Prince getting married, this, but it wasn't real. It was just to let people know who he was and all that type stuff. Get this music out there. So anyway, paparazzi, all that stuff was there. So when stuff was going on and the newspaper come to me, I said, no, I ain't marry him for real. I said, didn't I say that? I said, that's not even a real pastor, priest, Catholic, diocese or nothing. They said, oh, okay. So I said, no, I didn't marry that man. And I say, I don't even know his real name. I said, I guess he said his name Michael. So, I don't know. I said, he just one of my orders, And that's when he was first coming out, And he came into my store one day after that. He was with Apollonia. He got the clown and told me he could have married me for real. He didn't know I was a real queen and all that. I said, I told you I'm a real queen. I said, well, you always making jokes about everything. I said, I ain't into you like that. I said, well, just, publicity. I told you, for the tabloids. Apollonia self-standing hustle, thank yourself as usual. That's foolish. She stinks so bad. Anyway, no, that's J-Ro, mom and dad. Now, every time Prince get the acting a fool, the Apollonia come around, they be with Athlete Space, them and everybody else, they hanging out. And see, Rufus the man knew how they was. They older than J-Ro, but Rufus like, J-Ro, no. He just full of crap. He said, I told him to go back and live with his dad. Okay, go on with Prince. You could take your son on tour with you. It's the summertime. What y'all doing? So when he got to acting on foot with me, Prince, I drop it like a pancake. No, you can't sing none of my songs or nothing. He had stole my brand new album covers and all that. That was around the time when he came out. He was on that album cover. He sent off and went somewhere else and did something. I didn't do that. When he in the shower with his little skinny self and he got all the hair on his chest, the first album he came out with, he copied off of my album cover. The music that's on there, that was my music. I had already sung and all that stuff. It was hits. And the one that called himself Jerome or the Room Time, yeah, and Memorial Day, and it was like, oh, you gonna get paid off of that? That sound good, shoot, So he stole my stuff and kept on doing stuff. Yeah, he went to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and them, and I ripped them apart. That album didn't last for long. But let me get to, I'm just showing you the basis of this. This boy was making himself hate me for no reason. You know? For no reason. Kept causing conflict when nobody really doing up this stuff that had already happened. He digging, doing this, doing that, taking all of Keisha's side and just making himself mad at me. I guess he thought I forgot. Because one day I was out, this was 1996, 97, I'm sitting up there talking to Kevin Durant, asking him what Conzo was at. I'm like, and then Shantae came. I said, where your brother is? Where my son? J-Roy and Keisha, Shonda keep doing this, and what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I said, why all these kids keep coming to you complaining about me? That's my job. I work for the federal government for one. And all of them using the same name, social security numbers, all this stuff going on. That's why I work for the government. I said, do you know what the FBI do? Kevin Durant. This before stuff got heated. Money Bag go to rapper them. I already knew them two. They coming through. Man, they ain't got nothing to do with you. They talking about them old cases and how some of y'all supposed to already been. You supposed to been in jail already or something, Kevin Durant? You supposed to been in prison or something? They looking for people who supposed to been in prison. They got names and stuff for people who supposed to been in there and wasn't in there. Let alone they supposed to been someplace and supposed to been transferred somewhere. Nobody never seen them. They was never there. Now I told you, Afro was going around trying to get everybody to kill me too. Him and looting them all this stuff. But let me get to the point. Calhoun didn't want to hear it. He was just talking mess. So I was right around. I'm sitting right on their back porch. Nika tell him gone with that stuff. Rufus like, man, nobody on there. I ain't finna do nothing to nobody. I don't be doing that. You gone with that. You know? Here go Calhoun. I go get some gals or something for that money, man. We can go get us something to smoke and drink and get some gals. This what Calhoun said. Here go Anika. I got some gals I can call. Shoot, we can do that then. You know? Because she was like, oh, Shonda right here on the back porch, which I was on the back porch. So she, you gonna let Brene them, let my baby come over and I play with the kids? They can come over your house. I said, yeah, they can. See, J-Ro didn't know all that. While he was hyping stuff up and being on stuff with, you know, Nicole and Ludacris and them, Afro them and all that. You know? He never knew the entirety of anything when he was in on stuff with Shannon and Sean and Boom them and everybody else and CC them and the list goes on. No, Choo Choo them. So, these are crimes that happen federal, state. They supposed to have been incarcerated. They basically gave themselves away when I kept coming down here to Florida. And they kept following me. That's how they knew they was watching me and that all this stupidity stuff. And it was really obvious when I was going through Atlanta, Georgia. It was obvious. I had destinations. They didn't have no destinations. You understand what I'm saying? You know? I'm all in the hospital. They was coming up there to the hospital trying to act all tough at Avon Hospital. They going up in there hurt after the fact because I don't whoop their tails. Because I had dislocated DG Bobo arm, all this stuff. And the list went on and on. Here I go beating up the rest of the same people I beat up in East St. Louis, Illinois. Same people I called in Missouri. I mean, it was just, you know. Now, this is the other part. I was just explaining how that stuff got started. So, now, this is the other part about Hachi. Hachi and Josh is two different people. Hachi family call him JT. That's his initials, okay? There's two of them that call themselves Josh Emerson. Let me get to it. Now, I told you I had already met the one I started calling Hachi JT at church when I was with Boom. This guy, Boom, dark skin, and I told you people say Boom too funny. I think that's what his stuff is here on TikTok. We had been knowing each other. We had been married. But let me get to the point. The point is that Rihanna wasn't around. I didn't know Rihanna. I didn't know that was her mom and daddy when I met her. I never knew their names. They come around acting like they some kin to me. I'm like, that ain't this and that. And I had already met Ron through Suge and Evelyn because they raped me. Ronald James, Pavano, and a whole bunch of other dudes raped me. It was 5 dudes raped me. Evelyn and Suge was right there watching. They ain't messing my vagina. They kept trying to do it in my butt. Everybody else kept trying. They was like, nah, this ain't her. They was looking for Rihanna the whole time. And they knew Rihanna wasn't me. They know I'm Shonda. That's one thing. But that's where that stemmed from. So let's fast forward back up. When I end up in East St. Louis and Hachi them came around and all this other stuff. Boom them was already around. Him and his cousins who I got kids by, they was already around. And we call their daddy Pawpaw. I showed y'all the video and all this other stuff. So cut to the chase. And Pawpaw and them know who I am, taking them around, everybody around. My Uncle Ben done popped up. That's my real uncle, like I told you. My Uncle Al Green done popped up. My Uncle Levi Stubbs. Oh, man, his kids, everybody coming around. Regardless of all us, whatever organ we doing, same old Michael Cody. He ain't never denied nobody who I was. He was like, I don't know what y'all talking about. There she go. You know what? So anyway, Hachi now was living down the street. Okay? And next door to where Rihanna, Chris Brown, and with that lady Bunny. Okay? Let me get to it. So when he met Rihanna, Hachi, which is JT, this is before I started calling him Hachi, had met her, she said she was me. How she kept saying how she really was me and all this other stuff and this and that. So he tell Chris Emerson them, all of them, oh man, this Shonda for real right here and this and that. And they end up seeing Star, Chris Emerson them and Kendra them seen Star, and they had met Toy. Toy was like, I don't know who that girl is. They ain't on the Shonda. Because they know I am who I am. Because how they knew of who I was because of Smokey Robinson. I told you how everybody a little stuff. So when Star knew of me because her mom and them knew who I was. And they knew Rihanna wasn't me. She said, oh, that's that other girl running around her doing all that type of sex stuff and this and that. That girl's something else. Now, all the time when all this stuff going on, parents ain't got nothing bad to say about me. And Star knew that too, just the same way when I started dating Michael Jordan when he was in high school. Even before he got in the NBA, all that. He started getting mad at me, doing stupid stuff. Star was off the chain. She admitted herself, but she kept arguing with him too. Because he'll find out stuff she doing. Talking about, oh, Shonda doing this. She said she used to be arguing. You better get out of my business. That's what she used to tell Michael Jordan all the time. Yeah. Former NBA player, she used to be going off for him all the time, being in her business and trying to say this, me and all that, So, anyway, all that stuff. So I didn't hear from, he wasn't coming over no more or nothing. Jackie, Chris Emerson, and Josh. They laughing and all that. And see, Charlene, Eric now, like I told you, I don't know how they end up coming around. Everett Walker them, his sister, or his cousin, whatever Dion is, till we call Dion, but her name Diane Walker. And Tookie was like, let him think what he want to think. Let him go on with that girl. That's on him. But her boyfriend was some kin to David Ruff and them. Steve Fortner had bust out. You know, so you gonna leave me alone? He just wanted you because he thought you lying, talking some you Shonda and all this stuff. You know, and he talked about her real bad in front of her mama and daddy too. You know. So anyway, I'm just showing you history and report stuff. But stuff had to went on for a while. I told you my kids got kidnapped. I told you about the stuff that the other Josh was saying. Because Charlene had 2 boys around her she was calling Josh Emerson. One ended up going to jail and one of them was still out. The one that was the roofer and all this type stuff, that's who I was dating. And the other one was the one ended up in federal jail. So they knew I was who I was and how she was making comments like that. Saying forget the kids and all this. Oh, that ain't her down there and this her right here. He all in Rihanna's face and all this other stuff. When he was saying he didn't care about the kids dying and all this other stuff, he was saying all that. Yes, Hachi was. Yes, JT was. So when he kept bad mouthing doing all that stuff, his uncle, auntie, everybody popping up. What you on? What you on? Where the kids at? Where the kids at? By this time, I'm calling him Hachi. They was like, who was Hachi? I said, that's what I call him. I said, so every time he do something, everybody really, you know, everybody got all these nicknames, J and T and all this other stuff. I ain't number one Hachi. White boy Hachi, you know. But he did say all that. He hanging around in the projects around Nene, them, Kenny Bo, them, him and his brothers and all that stuff. My kids dead. You know. People around, he said he didn't care. You know, other Josh know saying stuff, talking about he said go ahead and do this and all this and just like that boy did to that other baby. That's all, you know. Everybody went to court. They supposed to been gone. Same way by my son, by Rico. You told DT to kidnap our son because I didn't want you anymore because you molested my little girl, Kyra. And I didn't want you around in the house or nothing. I just let you in your, let him and his mom come over when my baby was like 2 months old, 2 or 3 months old, to see him. Okay, see y'all later, bye. And DT kidnapped him because you said you told him to. Remember we was at the hotel, the motel, at one of my motels. You was gonna try to be on some slick stuff, but you didn't know where you was at. You didn't know that was Arlington. You didn't know when you go the other way at Centerville. Y'all call East St. Louis Police Department like you doing something. I said, I don't care who you call. I said, I hope you can call God here. I said, really can get some justice done, huh? The savior of his souls. And I was like, I'm FBI. Yeah. Some girl was bragging how she killed kids and did all this other stuff, saying she killed my kids for them and they didn't care no way and all this. And we was at my motel by the alternative high school. Remember, it used to be an elementary school. At that time, it was an alternative high school. Yeah, that's when Keisha Tompkins and all them was still going there, and Shannon Norman them and Jamila and Bernard Mosley Jr., Finball, all them was going on, and they graduated from that alternative high school. This is in the 90s too. So the other feds pull up because the girl had insurance policies, all that stuff. Tiny, you going, girl? I told you one never over with. But Rihanna wasn't treating her kids no even better. Because when she be out in the club kicking it, horn, whatever she doing, she was leaving her kids in the house by themselves. By themselves. You know? So I'm like, where your daughter at? Where your son at? Both of your kids. They all right, so what at? She told me her kids was upstairs. I told her she lived with Chris Brown. Chris Brown shared the room. And she would hide her kids in the house. She said she'll rather hide them and lie and this, that, and the other because she knew Bunny wasn't no good. You know? So her baby daddy, Stephen Fortner, Steve asked me could they, get a 2-bedroom for me, so, she can get out that house. You know? But she was leaving her kids in the house by themselves. And she was giving them NyQuil all the time. And she'd have them up under the bed. So she knew they wouldn't wake up. The other one won't want a bottle. And she said they'll be all. That's what Rihanna was doing. Or she'd get on some diphenhydramine. She told me, you was giving your kids diphenhydramine. And I said, Rihanna, you so busy going around trying to see what I'm doing. How? I said, my kids got allergies for one. Like me. I don't give it to them just because. I said, I don't even go nowhere. Really. But to work or something or this, that, the other. She said, okay, she got watching me, but she didn't. Rihanna used to be tripping. And I said, quit telling people you me too. Because the whole time while all of them females told me they acting like me. And people that really knew me. I told you how I was born. I was born hermaphrodite. On my birth certificate say X. The X means born both sexes. She didn't know that either, or her mama and daddy. Other people had an idea, like them Betty Wrights, that mess that started with KC or the Sunshine Band and all this other stuff got other people killed for their bull crap. All the time, she didn't even have no baby by KC. A baby didn't even exist then. Not at that moment. There come all them women saying they Betty Wright, all that. Everything had got settled. Everybody went to federal court because everybody kept coming around me. And the federal judge said, how in the world they even know where you at? I said, exactly. That's my whole point. My whole point. We had already was straightening everything out. Then here come Eddie Levert bringing that stuff up again. He the one. I told you that's how I found out what some Vice Lord and Gangster Disciple stuff from. It was Gerald Levert now. I'm not Gerald Levert, Daddy Ed Levert and his friends and all this other stuff that he going around arguing with all the women. He already knew who the real Betty Wright was. He was fishing the whole time. Then he had met the one that called herself Yvette, Tasha Mama. That's not Nicole Mama, that's Tasha Mama. But that ain't her real name. So anyway, I don't even know her real name. Um, all them trying to blame me for stuff, and then this Latino gang, whatever, they telling me little stuff, but see, they was really trying to cut down their stuff for real. They was like, "You cool though." I'm like, "Why?" I'm like, "Okay, the Latino gang, I didn't know this is gangs at first. The stuff they was telling me, I was always on a spiritual move. I was raised as this God-loving child and all this type stuff. Most I ever had heard of a gang for real, like I told you. I said I heard of mafia. I said, y'all like the mafia or something? They was like, no, 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 they not like the mafia and all that. But that's when I first heard of, and all of them was incarcerated, in places in Illinois. hmm all three different sets. hmm Then the Latino, well, he was Latino, Spanish. He got back and asked me about the guy. He said, we heard about Tookie or Crip. You some cancer that dude? Or I said, why you say that? I said I knew something about that. I say I didn't know actually they was saying there was a guy. I used to mess. I said they used to mess with me all the time and tell us we Crips and all that when we was little. I said because I used to be in and out the hospital, sometime in a wheelchair and all that. I said I think he's sick too. Oh, the dude say, oh, you think so? I said yeah. I said y'all might don't know him. I say everybody be getting him and his brothers mixed up. They all different sizes. Yeah. I say, oh, they got a lot of muscles and stuff. They some big dudes, though. He said, yeah, I heard that. He was like, I'm a big dude, too. Okay. He said, you cool with us. It's okay. He said, you know a lot about God and God in church, though. And they was laughing or whatever because they knew I was serious. And he spoke about how he was raised. Rosary and all this other stuff he knew and everything. And he said he crushed his mama's heart because he got sentenced 25 years and he wasn't raised that way. She didn't understand. He said his mom, his exact words, he said his mom was a God-fearing lady. And he said when he get out, she gonna be real old. But that's just the justification of it. All the stuff they got started. Cheryl was trying to be slick, trying to show me out to people. Oh, this Shonda Free, all that stuff with Amp them, all this stuff. You know? But most of the stuff they were saying that happened to somebody growing up, that wasn't none of me, that was her. And Chris Brown had started taking her around different places and showing everybody because she used to brag about it. How trifling she is. I'm talking about she could just walk. You know how babies poop? She'll just be walking and poop just fall out her butt. I'm so serious, and she'll laugh. Everybody like, how you? You know the word is shit. How you doing all that and walking it? That's nasty as what? Acting like you a horse. Even they have to stop sometime. And she'll laugh. Same way she was doing at those award shows. Oh yeah, after the award, when she used to be up there dancing, I used to be like, oh man. And no telling what she finna shake out her tail, because I bet she ain't got her diaper on. I bet she don't. They had to get up there. So after the show, they had to pause about 30 minutes to go out there with the pooper scooper, like an animal was on stage, and clean up the stage, then sanitize it, so the next people can go up. I'll be like, why y'all putting her up there? They say, oh, she paying for this cleanup and all that. that her and DJ Khaled had some words. He said, Rihanna, you could help that. Why you always want to wear something tight and nasty up there? Why you just couldn't wear some pants with your diaper and do your moves? Everybody needs to be going off on her. Yeah. That's what everybody started like. They people who like when I was growing up, they like that didn't happen to you. Nope. I told y'all what my medical problem was. You know. Told you what had to be done to me. Sure. To make me poop and pee. You know. Sometimes I'll be okay. Sometimes I'll be real gassy and bloated. You just never know. Got a lot of medical problems. You know. Like I said, I thank God. This is the end of this video, but I thank God my mom and daddy wasn't like that. And even through my medical treatment, when Tookie help and all that nurse and all that other doctors did, ain't nobody mess with my butt. They found another way to get things released and relax my body and all that. You know? Yeah. Yeah. That's just the way it is. That's the way it was. And these people had tore me down so bad. And then they said I couldn't see my kids. What can I get them a funeral? It was like, we can't put them, what, I need to cremate them or something? Or, it was Kenny Bonham and all these people that was around. Somebody was on the outside looking in. Somebody thought they was having a party. I said they cut my babies up. And they seen Hachi and Joshua walk off. They knew. It was just all about putting Hachi and Josh there. But the other Joshua that went to federal prison. You can't just go around and get insurance policies on people and their kids. You just can't do that. Even if you have some of your kids and your kids tell you to cancel it, you got to do that.